With no definite end in sight to the Russia-Ukraine war and Israel's war versus Hamas in Gaza, U.S. President Joe Biden has switched focus to affairs at home and his campaign for re-election in November this year. White House Bureau Chief Patsy Widakuswara has the story.
As Israel continues its military campaign in Gaza, a ceasefire for hostage release deal with Hamas appears out of reach, even with extensive U.S. diplomatic efforts. Meanwhile, almost 2.5 years since Moscow's invasion, Ukraine so far has rejected the possibility of ceding territory and directly negotiating with Russia.
In both cases, you can make an argument that the U.S. has been so heavily involved without necessarily thinking through the consequences of where that leads, that now we're kind of stuck with no good off-ramp in either conflict. And I think for Biden, that's the problem.
President Joe Biden did not commit any American troops on the ground in either war.
There are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine. I'm determined to keep it that way. But we are standing strong with Ukraine, and we will stand with them.
He scored a major foreign policy win in April by securing the passage of a bipartisan foreign aid bill that included $61 billion for Ukraine and $26 billion for Israel. But since then, he has been shifting the focus of his messaging away from foreign wars.
If Biden is going to win a second term, it's going to have to be on domestic issues, not international. And he's got some ground to make up in the key swing states. So he needs to focus on the ones that identify with democratic points of view, for example, the abortion issue.
And he has. In recent weeks, Biden has ramped up campaign engagements, centering his speeches on the economy and other domestic issues, including protecting abortion rights, canceling student debt, combating hidden junk fees for consumers, and boosting manufacturing.
Clearly, they want to focus on areas they believe to be their strengths, but they're not the ones who only get to make that choice. I mean, the world will continue to intrude.
But ultimately, domestic issues are what drive Biden's agenda. A May Reuters Ipsos poll shows that while many Americans are unhappy with the wars, they see inflation as the most important issue facing the country. Patsy Widakuswara, VOA News, Washington.